This is Welchless Thinking, and I'm Welch Kincannon. If you like where my thoughts are going, go ahead and uppercut the subscribe and or the like button. You can also donate to the Cash App in the description or on my website, which you can visit at any time, which features other Welchless Thinking blog content. If you would like to simply just relax with a drink, warm socks, and read, which I stress the reading. Or if you're in a warmer climate with a fan, if you have one, and your favorite chair. Thank you for being here and supporting myself and this channel. I'm immensely grateful and thankful. Now let's begin. Was k.i.t.t inspired by Knight Rider and Transformers for GNX and GNX album cover? This is one of those things that no one really talked about, but let's get into it. So once again, what's up, thinkers? For me, the GNX era and album cover is an ode to Knight Rider. Yes, I haven't seen anybody talk about it. I think, Yahoo News did a little news snippet that kind of mentioned Knight Rider, but they didn't go into much detail and didn't connect much dots. Now, I could be wrong, but when I saw how Kendrick was dressed on the GNX album cover, I kept thinking there was more to this album and the vehicle other than what's been explained by Kendrick and what's been on Wikipedia and what's circulating online. So as we know, the Grand National is a vehicle that's very important to Kendrick. In 1987, his pops drove him home from the hospital in the GNX after he was born for an album that's mostly sounds like the West Coast. It's, to me, fitting that Kendrick informed the world of this sweet story and origin of why the GNX holds importance for him. However, I do believe Kendrick was inspired by Knight Rider. As you know, Knight Rider was an action crime drama played by David Hasselhoff. Some people may not know about that, may not have been born in the 1980s. Some may have grown up in the 1990s and may not have known that Knight Rider was. The character on that show was named Michael Knight, and he has this dope-ass car that's named k.i.t.t, and it's basically an AI vehicle. First, what's obvious, of course, the cover, right? The album cover. And you have, if you were to look at some of the pictures, you have David Hasselhoff. He is very similarly dressed to Kendrick, or Kendrick is similarly dressed to him sitting on the vehicle. Their demeanors as well are similar. I don't know why, but my brain just said, a vehicle is a man's best friend. The character of Michael Knight is that his real name is Michael Long. And what happened with him is that he was shot in his face that was nearly fatal. And he was given a new face through plastic surgery and a new name. He was reborn as Michael Knight. This is all a little backstory, right? He was rescued by a billionaire named Bolton Knight. And at the time, Michael Knight, original name Michael Long, was a police detective lieutenant at the time. Now, if I go more into this character of Michael Knight, or Michael Long, first off, he was born outside of Los Angeles. He was raised in a blue-collared family. He joined the Army, ended up working in counterintelligence in Vietnam. He was captured during a mission. He escaped, but then he had a brain injury that required surgery. Then he had a metal plate in his head. He gets discharged from the service, returns to Los Angeles, and joins the LAPD. Now, what happens to him is he gets betrayed by an informant and was shot in the head, and the metal plate deflected the shot. TV, man. However, it screwed up his face. He becomes declared dead to the public, and he gets taken care of by an organization called FLAG, which is Foundation for Law and Government. organization's called FLAG, which is Foundation for Law and Government. Okay? So that is the backstory of Michael Long. Now, FLAG is a private crime-fighting arm of Knight Industries, which again is this billionaire, Wilton Knight, who's behind all of this. Long story short, the whole point of Michael Knight is he believes in justice, right? Now he believes in protecting the innocent. That is basically the easiest way to explain who he is. He's about protecting the innocent, which I think is very interesting just on the character level because, what has Kendrick been basically doing all this time? Really think about it. What's his whole thing right now? With Drake, right? Taking back hip-hop, making hip-hop again. Vindicating those who need to be vindicated. And if you know, you know. But it's more than that, right? He accused Drake of a very, effed up shit. But one must question, as much as the courts want to say it's hyperbole and all this stuff, the character's a little bit adopted, right? That's how I feel. Now, many people may feel differently. I won't say adopted. I'll say it's sort of a slight embodiment. So let's put it that way. That being said, he's this crime fighter. I want to protect the innocent, quote unquote, all of that, right? But what's interesting about his character, we know he's not an original Knight. His last name is Long, Michael Long. But apparently, how can I put this? Garthe Knight is the son of Wilton Knight. He has his own backstory. And I have to go through this without laughing because Garthe Knight, or Garthe Knight, but I think his name is Garthe Knight, but it cracks me up because this guy makes me laugh every time I see him. And when you see the pictures, when I put it up, you understand why I'm laughing because Garthe Knight is so hilarious looking. It's too much. It's too funny. Okay. I'm trying not to laugh, but it's when you see the pictures of the video, you'll understand. It's hilarious. So anyway, so Garthe resembles Michael Knight almost identically, right? He's supposed to be the twin, but his mustache and his soul patch is what sets him apart from Michael. He hates Michael because he feels like he has usurped his life and pretty much took his father away from him, replaced him. Garthe's background. So let's get into Garthe's background, right? Which is also quite interesting. Now, he spent several years in an African prison. He was sentenced to 3 life sentences, right? He met with an African revolutionary named Sombe, who's a member of the Pan-African Liberation Movement. Isn't that interesting? And I know it doesn't really connect. This is a side note, but it is kind of interesting that Ebony Prince, the flag thing. I know that's not something that, I know a lot of people don't believe in Ebony Prince and all that, and I get it, and I understand why, and please put a comment on what you feel about that, but I do find that to be quite interesting that, now that I'm thinking about it, like, my brain just went there. Anyway, I digress. He's able to avoid a life sentence, right? Because a top official who was taking bribes on leases on diamond mines. I should restate that. So he met with an African revolutionary named Sombe, who's a member of the Pan-African Liberation Movement. He's able to avoid a life sentence because of a top official who was taking bribes on leases on diamond mines. So now on the show, what he does is he comes back to the United States, works with Sonbei and his mother, Elizabeth Knight, to steal missiles from the government called Red Bluff in Nevada. And again, I'm just letting you know a little bit of his background. So basically, Garthe is supposed to be a bad guy. That is who he's supposed to be in this. He's the bad of the Knight brothers. Okay? So why do I bring this up? Well, for one, it could also be loosely tied to this show and how angry Garthe is, how he feels, his emotions, whatever, right? I also think that in the song Whacked Out Murals, k.i.t.t basically warrants, he's saying, look who I was before. I'm not that anymore. I'm on some scary shit. What I find is interesting is that on that tour, I don't know if anybody has seen any of the concerts on the GNX tour, but he has made a point on Family Ties that certain people don't compare to him. He led in peace, giving out warning after warning after warning every show. And if you guys haven't read my Family Ties blog posts, and now I've also made available on YouTube the video for that, so please check that out. It's very interesting that he says this during the Family Ties performance, which for me ties back to Drake and what I think that he was the real quote-unquote problem. And the reason why Baby Keem and Kendrick created Family Ties, there is no way this man only just put money on the street to get information. Just no. Okay? That's just my opinion. But I'm going to say allegedly. Okay? I'm pretty sure many people have tried to, and I say try to, if you can read between the lines, when it came to Kendrick. However, I think this time it may have went further than that. I think it might have been more diabolical. Hence why Dot's constantly alluding to the XXXTentacion conspiracy. Like, this man is more than what you guys think. And again, all alleged. And by the way, check out my XXXTentacion's video on the illusion of XXXTentacion and Dodger Blue and Peekaboo. And what I connect on there is pretty substantial. That's a big one, a really, really big one. So I'm really hoping people check that out before that anniversary comes up, which should be in 5 days from this recording. Anyway, it seems like he might have had a hand in a lot of people passing away. And I feel like he may have tried to do the same with Kendrick, allegedly. But I digress. So, with the Garthe Knight character, I feel like that's who he's supposed to be. Is the I don't give a fuck individual. And that's the part of Kendrick, I think that's who he's supposed to be. So, I thought it was interesting when I looked up k.i.t.t, the car that Michael Knight drives. I decided to check out the person who voiced the vehicle, and it is a man named Peter Cullen. Now, Peter Cullen also did voice work for the Transformers, the movie, the 1986 movie, and voiced Optimus Prime. Side note, by the way, the best Transformer, forgive me, y'all, but the best Transformer movie of all time And I mean, that is objective, but for me, the best. It truly is. It was emotional, it was action packed. Everything about that movie was amazing. I think everybody should see the very first Transformers from the 1980s at least once. It truly was the best movie. By far. By far. No, I don't think there's any of the CGI ones that can top it, personally. And I've seen the first one that they came out with the CGI, and I was like, that was dope. And I feel like any of the ones that they came out with afterwards was not very good. So yeah, please watch it. I think it's greatest ever. So moving along, Optimus Prime was basically the hero of the story in the Transformers, whereas Megatron, who was a Decepticon, he was, of course, the bad guy. Now, in the story, Optimus Prime is also known as Orion Pax. Now, side note, I think personally, for this part with Orion Pax, you have to see the movies, the series, and or just read somewhere how Orion became Optimus Prime, vice versa in the first place. I'm not going to spoil that. So, just going to leave that right there. I'm not going to do it. He embodies Optimus Prime, right? He embodies strong moral values, right? Leadership, strategic, has the most advanced weapons, knows martial arts. Let's see, Kung Fu Kenny, right? I think that's kind of funny, but okay. And you know what? We don't even know if Kendrick even knows martial arts or anything like that. We don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised though. I don't think he's the type of person who's going to sit there and tell everybody every friggin' action he makes and thinks. So there's that. Anyways, he wants justice and peaceful coexistence with humans. He has this cry, this rallying cry that's called "Till all are one." W-O-N. Till all are one. That's the quote. Till all are one. Which is really an interesting quote. However, he was reborn as Orion Pax and reclaimed his role as Optimus Prime, etc., etc., etc. I think with the original story, this is what I feel Kendrick was going for. Duality. That's the theme. To add to the whole point, what was Michael Knight? He was about justice and peace, right? Optimus Prime, the same thing, about justice and peace. However, they had to deal with that other side. What I also found was interesting when I went back to check Peter Cullen's background, and I had to laugh at this. This man, who again, one of the best voice actors of our time, was from Canada. Layers. You know, the GNX album cover is super dope and extremely clever. My 1980s eye couldn't help but see things, even down to how they made the photo slightly aged. It seems so minimalistic when it's not even down to the belt. The belt. But last but not least, about that Red GNX popping up at the concerts in the video. You know, you check out that Knight Rider 2000. Coincidence? As always, I appreciate your thoughts. Thanks for your support.